Hello, welcome to an early version of Facebook Live today. I thought I was going to be doing my regular time slot at 1:30 and just decided to go ahead and do this. I could get some other things done today. So, my apologies. I know you can watch it later even if you're not watching it live now. So, today's topic is adapting to temporary disabilities or circumstances. And I'm sure from my post yesterday, you have noticed that I am in a cast. And I'm thinking of having a contest to have you guys name this cast before I get it taken off next Thursday. So we're looking forward to that. I've discovered since my surgery last Friday a lot of things that I wasn't thinking about in adapting to not being able to use my right hand. Of course, the most obvious is that I can't write with my right hand. And that's pretty tough for a writer, but I'm using this as an opportunity to learn new things about myself, my craft, um, technology. So it's all good. It's all good, except for the pain. But I've got painkillers for that. So, I want to share with you some of the things that I'm discovering in this process. I hadn't thought about not being able to sign checks. So, I have a check for book sales from a client who did her launch last week. I can't write her a check for the book she sold, but somehow I'll get that done. Obviously, another thing that I can't do is journal, at least not by hand. I can't give my dog an insulin shot. I can't use my computer mouse with my right hand. I can't style my hair with a curling iron. I can't sweep the floor with a broom or sweep crumbs off into a dustpan. I can't put together a newsletter on the computer in the same way I've always done it. And I do one and a half, maybe two newsletters. I can't drive with my right hand on the steering wheel, can't put the key in the ignition with my right hand, and change the gear shift with my right hand. So while all of these can't things may seem like a big hurdle to get over, I have turned them into, as I referenced earlier, a learning situation, a learning process. So, in terms of signing my name, I can't do that on a physical check yet. But I found out when I went to the doctor's office for an unscheduled visit this week that I can take my left hand and I can sign that electronic pad and make at least my first name legible. The rest of it, it looks like garbage, but they usually did anyway on those electronic pads. So, and of course, for paying bills, most of us have our bill paying online anyway these days. So it's just the physical signatures that I can't accomplish. I think I had to have Wayne sign the consent form for surgery or the release form. Maybe it was the release form after surgery, since I obviously could not do that. Uh, I, I can't journal, of course, but I can use my phone and I can pull up an app on my phone called Evernote. And with Evernote, I can access the microphone. I can dictate my journal entry for the day. I can save it, name it, and then email it to myself. So that hurdle is not a problem, except that the old adage that you're able to pull the thoughts out of your head as you journal, pull memories out, um, pull lucid and logical thinking out of your head with your hand. It doesn't quite work that way with dictating it to the phone. So But I guess it's no different than doing a Facebook Live, so I can kind of think and journal on the fly. So, not a big deal. Give my dog an insulin shot. That is a problem that I haven't overcome, but I just wait for my husband to give the dog her insulin shots. So that's, you know, when you're under the influence of a temporary disability or even a permanent disability, you have to rely on other people. And that's been very hard for me because I'm used to being independent, doing what I want, when I want, where I want. And through this whole process, the Bible verse about, you know, someday someone else will dress you and lead you to places you don't want to go. I keep calling that to mind, but I'm sure there was a different application and meaning in the scripture other than being old and feeble and infirm because of a surgery. But no, I've had to rely on Wayne a lot. My husband has become my right hand, and I am so grateful for that. And he has been very patient. So, patient with my impatience. I'm going to be very impatient to get this cast off. So, um, I've started teaching myself to use the computer mouse with my left hand, and it is a work in progress. But I actually made some traction on a book that I'm formatting in InDesign, the computer program, software program that I use for formatting books. So I think, maybe finished a portion of a chapter this week. I was exhausted afterwards, but it can be done. And I'm so glad that I can use my left hand to feed myself. I practiced that before surgery. I practiced other essential uh, things before surgery, and I'm glad that I did because when I went to see my primary care physician this week, he said, "Are you milking that for all it's worth?" And I said, "No, not really." He said, "I don't know if I could do that. I don't. The worst thing would be having to learn to um, use the bathroom and take care of yourself with your non-dominant hand." So I practiced that beforehand too, and it's okay after a fashion. Um, I can't. I'm using my computer mouse with my left hand, learning to do that, and sometimes I can't make my left hand do what my right hand always did. So the one thing this is teaching me is just slow down and take a few deep breaths if I get frustrated or if the mouse just goes totally off the page or that I can't find it. So take a couple of deep breaths and just keep on keeping on. So I just have to try not to be terribly impatient with myself. The fifth thing, before surgery, I cut my hair short because I knew that I was not going to be able to use a curling iron anymore. And that was a good plan, except that I can't stand to look at myself in the mirror and not be able to fix my hair the way I want to fix it to cover the bald spot in the top of my head. Um, I'm having to put up with bed hair. I can't wash my hair or take a shower as often as I was used to without having to get on my plastic hand, my claw hand, my shower hand. So that has been a real difficult adaptation, and just doing this Facebook Live and having to look at myself and my hair, and it's just not been very easy. And even worse than that is not being able to put my own earrings on. I haven't had earrings on since surgery, and I feel naked without earrings. So there are some things in adapting to a temporary disability that you just have to accept and kind of gloss over and maybe pretend like it doesn't matter, which it really doesn't. It doesn't matter. So that's what I need to learn through this process. Sweeping the floor with a broom or sweeping crumbs off into a dustpan. I just have learned to look over the stuff on the floor and wait for my husband to sweep the floor, which he frequently does. And when I want to dust crumbs off of the table after a meal, and I can't hold a dustpan, I kind of gather them up with a napkin. And um, if I can't pick up the crumbs with the napkin and throw it away, I just kind of look around and sweep them off onto the floor, onto the carpet. So that's one way to get rid of crumbs. So no big deal, right? Um, Putting together a newsletter on the computer the same way has been a real challenge and a real trial. Yesterday, I was trying to put out a chorus newsletter with my left hand using the mouse, and I gave myself a break and just put out a one-page newsletter. That was okay, but I still had to do the narrative on that one-page newsletter, do a little bit of writing. So I decided rather than key it in one keystroke at a time with my left finger, my left forefinger, I was going to try and use the dictating feature in Microsoft Word. So my only problem was starting before my brain was engaged, because as I used the dictaphone feature, it deciphers every pause in your speaking as a new sentence. So I had all these choppy sentences with no subject. And when I realized it and tried to correct it, I was muttering to myself under my breath. I was whispering to myself under my breath. I was cussing under my breath. Well, let me tell you, Microsoft Word's dictation feature picks up whispers. It picks up pauses. It picks up cuss words, except it turns those cuss words into asterisks. So there's a feature in the dictation of Microsoft Word that is a censor. Just be aware of that if you ever try to use Microsoft Word's dictation feature. So, um, driving with my right hand, that I cannot do now, got partially solved when my husband installed one of those old-fashioned steering wheel knobs on the steering wheel. So I got to test it last night when I drove myself to choir practice at church. It's just a mile away, so I thought, what can go wrong in a mile? And it was okay. I was able to back out of the garage. I was able to use the steering wheel knob to turn around in the driveway and get headed out the right way. Um, there weren't tight parking spaces at church for me to have to pull into, but I know I could have done it. The only difficult part of the whole process of driving with your non-dominant hand is putting the key in the ignition, because you have to reach over the steering column and put it in underneath and get it in just the right angle so it's going to go in and start the car. And then you have to reach across yourself to put the seatbelt on with this up out of the way, and you have to reach across yourself to change the gear shift. So I will be surprised if, in trying to drive with one hand, I don't get a shoulder issue. So, one thing seems to lead to another. In summary, I just want to let you know that I'm finding so many ways to adjust to this cast, to not being able to use my right hand, trying to keep it elevated for 2 weeks. What amazes me the most is the advances that have come about in technology. When Sherry and I first started working together developing memoir mentors projects and products, we were advising people to consider recording their personal history if they weren't a writer, recording it on a voice record app on their phones, or doing a selfie video telling the stories of their lives. And at the time, the only thing available was something called Dragon Dictation. And things have come so far since those days. It's just mind-boggling. So, um, and it's just a relief to find out that there are many, many ways to communicate, to tell stories, and to adapt to difficult circumstances, whether they're permanent or whether they are temporary. So, this is to let you know that there are no excuses if you feel the need to record a memoir, to record your personal history. There are no excuses now in terms of, not being a writer or not having the right equipment or the right technology. It's all there and available for you. The one thing that I did not include in this Facebook Live today or in my script is that my mind, when I'm adapting to a new situation, it always tends to default to finding the humor in any situation. Well, right before I got ready to do this today, I thought, I wonder if I could make a face on my cast. Remember Sherry Lynn and the sock puppets that she had, Lammy Pie? I could make this a sock puppet, except that it would have a mouth that doesn't move because this cast is it's hard. So, but I have a poetry reading to attend tomorrow, and I was considering doing a ventriloquist reading of the poem that I've decided to read and trying to read it through my hand. Well, I don't think that's going to work. It's a stupid idea, but it caused me to at least have a laugh at myself and my stupid ideas, my warped sense of humor. But I still think I'm going to go downstairs and have my husband draw a smiley face on my cast. So until next time, I hope you have a great weekend. We're going to have a warm day today before the cold front comes through tomorrow. But